boom, 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 boom. SUJOBAE podcast.
Five, four, three, two, one. Welcome back, episode 5 of SUJOBAE podcast. My name is Joseph Kim,
I'm Matthew Bae.
and unfortunately today we don't have Suzie Lee.
Not unfortunate.
Or maybe not unfortunate. She had some plans, even though we told her we were recording today. So instead, we have a guest speaker today, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Susie's replacement. Let's go. Anyway, so SUJOBAE? More like WUJOBAE! Anyway, this is Amber Wu. I am a senior with these two foos. Bae and Joe. Let's go. Woohoo! Anyways.
This was a mistake.
So my name is Amber, and I decided to, fill in Susie's spot today as she couldn't come. But yeah, I'm excited to, talk about some of the things that we got planned today. And yeah.
You want to tell us your major or like where you're from?
Yeah. So my major is selling and sales management, and then I'm going to be minoring in supply chain. And I am from Massachusetts, so I'm an East Coastie.
Woo.
Well, all these foos.
That's my line.
Are from the Midwest and Korea.
The funny thing is, she kept looking at me and saying that. Like, she wanted my approval.
Because you say
No,
foo.
I say foo, but like, when you say foo and I say foo, it's different. It's different.
Well, it's good to have you guys back. It's been about a week. I know, Matt. It's been about a week. And we have spring break next week. I can't even talk today. You guys have any plans for spring break?
Me and Suzie are going to Seattle.
Nice.
So we leave on tomorrow.
Hella Cornerstone people there.
Hella Cornerstone people
So,
there.
Irissa.
Shout out to Seattle.
Vivian.
Is Jess there? Tian?
Yeah,
Iris-
I don't
Iris-
know her,
you said
but
Iris?
I
yeah.
said Irissa. There's is Shane there?
Young Six there.
Young
Six
Six.
there. Is Shane there?
Yes.
And Eric.
Yes.
I said
Six
Eric.
there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's a ton of people.
Ton of people.
Is Jeremy also there?
Jeremy's also there. Oh wow,
Mhm.
jeez. Jeremy's
Yeah.
there.
If you forgot your name, sorry. That's all
Yep.
we could remember.
Yeah,
Wait,
There should be more, I feel like.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Shout out to Seattle.
Mm.
Going there for the full week.
No, actually, I will be going to Seattle for 4 days, and then right after that, I'm flying to Cleveland to visit a special someone.
LeBron
Whoa.
James.
What?
LeBron James.
LeBron James.
Ever post on Instagram? Just met my buddy.
It's like she actually meets LeBron James.
It's like, he goes in LA. Well, I guess I'll share my plans. I'm going to Pittsburgh.
Woo!
Monday through Wednesday. So that's gonna be fun. I'm road tripping there, so that's gonna be a trip and a half. But it's gonna be cool. I've never been to Pittsburgh. I heard it's pretty dope.
How long is it? The drive from
like
here?
6 hours, 7 hours, which is actually
Not
pretty
Not
reasonable.
too bad.
Because you can take a break in between, it doesn't feel too bad.
Mm.
So yeah, so I it's gonna be fun. And then afterwards, I'll probably like drive down to Chicago, back home, and hang out with some people.
Nice.
Reasonable.
Vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe, I know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I'm flying out tomorrow morning back to Korea.
Korea.
Woo! A lot of people ask why, but I just gotta deal with some stuff with family. They might end quarantine tomorrow, like the quarantine policy. My dad just called me like an hour ago.
Wait, that would be dope. Can you imagine though, like it's the one day before quarantine policy's done?
No, so it's like today they're announcing tonight in Korea, so that'll be early morning tomorrow for me. So before I fly out, I'll know whether or not I have to quarantine.
Isn't it $1,000 to quarantine
No.
or something?
What?
What?
I
Why would
thought-
you pay
I
to
thought that.
quarantine? Oh, you would. I guess you would pay for accommodation if you have to like go to the places that they quarantine you in, but they don't have that anymore, or at least to my knowledge.
Oh.
Like they allow you to stay at home and do.
Oh,
quarantine.
you have to pay to stay at a
Like a hotel.
different location.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like,
And I
Okay,
heard it
okay.
can be
quarantine.
$1,000.
because you stay like for 7 days, right? Or 5
Well,
days.
I mean, those are for the people I think that also don't even have a place to stay.
Oh,
Right.
okay,
If they
okay.
have an address in Korea, they could just probably quarantine
So then, like,
themselves.
if I like went to Korea, like, if I just gave them my grandma's address, like, I could.
You could just go to grandparents'
Okay,
house
okay,
and you just have to
okay.
quarantine there.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are visiting Korea. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have like
yeah.
a hotel they're going to
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
at or whatnot.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I've never had to do quarantine like that or
Mm.
pay for quarantine. Yep, I'll be doing that for spring break and then coming back the following Sunday.
Mm.
I'll be pretty jet lagged the week after, but
Yeah.
it'll be okay.
You might be in this awkward period where like you finally adjust
Yeah,
and then
adjusted,
like
yeah.
and then you go back.
Yeah.
That's I'm pretty used to that though.
Okay.
Always having to adjust.
Okay.
That's true.
Well, I think for those of you who are listening and don't know Amber, we should probably share how we know Amber and maybe how we met, because I guess Amber is a guest speaker today, so some of you guys might not know who she is exactly and who she is to us. Obviously, as you can probably tell, we met her in Cornerstone, but do you guys want to? Do you guys have like a story you met or
Well,
whatnot?
I guess the preference.
Matt, share your first impression of me.
So, I guess the preference is me and Amber's relationship is very like. So people look at us and they're like, "Oh, do they like each other?"
Mhm.
Because
I would see Matt in public. I'd be like, "Why are you breathing right now?" You know?
the thing is, like, it's not like we just say it like quietly to each other. It's like we like shout it to each other,
Mhm.
like, "How dare you walk in front of me right now?" That's what we do to each other. So it's like really funny. But my first impression of Amber was our freshman year. We had a game night,
Mhm.
and Cornerstone had hosted a game night in Windsor because there's like a big like game area
Woo.
in Windsor. There's like pool.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like is it futsal? What is it?
There's like a jukebox.
Yeah, jukebox.
Yeah.
There's a TV. There's a ton of crap
There's
there.
ping pong tables.
Ping pong tables, right? So then we went there, and I remember I was with another friend of ours, Ryan Wang. He's 1 year older than us, and I was there
Mhm.
with him, and we were deciding to play pool.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, some random person jumped out of nowhere and said, "I want to play."
Some beautiful girl
Ah,
jumped
yes.
in.
So beautiful. We jumped in, and it was Amber Wu. So we were playing pool, right? And like she came in, and she was acting all confident, like, "Oh yeah, I know what to do. I'm so
Mhm.
good at pool." And then like, we started playing, and like she was so bad. And the thing is, like, so if you don't know Amber, Amber gets really red when
yeah.
she not like
Me
like,
right
not,
now.
not like when she's like.
She gets flushed.
She gets flushed, like when
Yeah.
like there's like energy and everything around her. So she was so red, and she was playing pool with us, and she was like screaming and everything. And the funny thing is, me and Ryan had just met her, and we had no idea what to do. We were like, "Who is this crazy girl that looks like a straight out of a tomato, screaming about and like, so bad at pool?" So, that was my first impression. That's what I remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have a different impression?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
So I would say my first impression of Matthew is Matt was like kind of quiet and just a little like still.
I was quiet.
Yeah.
You're pretty reserved freshman
You're pretty
year.
reserved freshman
Really?
year. Compared to now,
Yeah,
you've definitely
for sure.
completely different person.
In
And
a
so I
good
remember
way, in a
going
good
up
way.
to this pool table and Matt's just holding a stick and he was just very not I guess the wrong word is obedient, but it's like you were just like going along with what I was doing. You know, I was just like, "Oh yeah, I know how to play pool." And you're like, "Okay, go. Show me how you play pool. Show me how you play pool." You know, just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't think like you judged me. It's more of you're just like, okay, like what's going on?
I'll be honest with you, I was so confused.
Yeah.
Because like I think during that time I think I was just getting more consistent with coming to Cornerstone because I didn't
Yeah.
come much first semester. This
That's
was
true.
second semester,
Mhm.
so like I'm trying to like assimilate, and then she comes out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Because you joined second semester too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Amber
I
came
did.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys were both trying to get into Cornerstone
Mhm.
at that time.
And credit to Suzie because Suzie brought me into Cornerstone.
Suzie brought
All of
Joe
us.
into Cornerstone.
No, Suzie didn't bring
Oh,
me to
okay.
Cornerstone.
Oh, never mind, never
Suzie
mind.
brought Suzie brought me into
Ah.
Angela
Cornerstone.
Chanu did.
Oh, and Shannon.
Oh.
My alumni, high school alumni.
Oh. Yeah, and my first impression of Joseph was I thought you were gonna. It was through Suzie because Suzie told me, "Oh my gosh, like this guy, like he swims and like he has a big,
Mhm, Yeah.
Big what?
buff
Oh, buff.
guy."
Oh.
Yeah, so I always just thought Joseph was gonna be this like big buff guy, and then Susie's like, "Oh yeah, he's like really athletic. I think like if you stalk his like Facebook,
Just turning into a roast.
And then I just saw Joseph for the first time. I just thought Joseph was, I guess I would also say reserved in some ways, but I think you gave off like a friendly vibe. You just like,
Did I not?
Compared to Matt.
I don't know, for some reason with you, Matt,
Mm.
I just like had a feeling that I can just like joke all of a sudden with you.
That is true.
Yeah,
You know?
a lot of people
I don't
say
know.
that, a lot of
Yeah. Not a bad thing, though. It made me
No, it's
feel
not a bad
very
thing, yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was comfortable with
you were
Joseph.
comfortable.
Oh, you are
Oh yeah, I can
comfortable.
tell you were comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought Joseph was like, like just a nice, clean-looking person.
Was I a dirty person?
No!
Thank you for that.
No, you
I'm
were
a
a
very
clean-looking
clean
person.
person.
But I just thought Joseph was like very
No,
structured
he was
kind
very,
of figure.
Yeah, very
You know what I
structured,
mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
My
Joseph?
first impression of Amber, I honestly
You don't even remember.
I honestly don't remember the first time I ever saw you,
Mm.
but I do know, and I think this is a running joke that goes on forever. But I was like, it's like, dang, she looks like a boiled egg.
I know it.
I think more during freshman year than now.
Yeah.
Now we're just close, but freshman
glue.
year we would all kind of just joke around just to get to know each other. And I
Mhm.
think someone mentioned it, but it kind of stuck with me. Like, Amber's face looks like an egg. And
I
I was
think-
like, freshman year, her face
Mhm.
was like perfectly round, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, she does look like an egg.
Yeah.
And me
I
in
was
my
very,
head was like, Amber and egg is the same thing.
You're very egg-like.
Very egg-like, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now whenever I just see Amber, I just kind of just dab on it. It's like,
Oh yeah,
dab.
Joseph just goes,
You guys are so cringy.
I only dab to Amber for
Yeah.
some reason. It's okay.
Yeah, Amber. Yeah.
Good first impressions. Good first
Right.
impressions.
I don't know why we're still friends.
Okay,
You know, I
Matt,
don't even know why I'm
would
here.
you rather like spend a day with Suzie or spend a day with Amber?
Oh!
Oh, Amber.
Oh, heck yeah, Susie!
Oh.
Take that, Susie!
It's not even a question. No, I'm just joking. Like, after this podcast, you guys might think we like Amber more, but like we like Suzie too.
Yeah.
Actually, if Suzie was here, because like Amber and Suzie are very close,
Yes,
so this
that's
would have
true.
been insane. We might have to do this again, just
Yeah,
when
we might need
when
a
both
round
of you
two.
two here, because
Yeah.
Suzie laughs alike, and you know Susie's laugh is
Yeah. Suzie and Amber is like 1+1 package.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
really
yeah.
unfortunate she's not here with us today, but
Yeah.
yeah.
She's
At least we have Amber.
At least you have Amber. Heck yeah.
I guess another story that we have is that we did a dance together.
Oh, freshman year.
Mr. Chu! Oh, and Mr. Chu!
Sorry to
All
all
the
the Korean
K-pop
people.
fans are
Sorry to all the
cringing.
Korean people out there. But like, yeah, we did Mr. Chu by A-Pink together.
Mhm.
That was really fun. Actually, that's probably where we
I
got
think
the
that's
closest.
my
Yeah.
first impression. Or
'Cause
like
we-
my
I
first
agree.
actual.
We would spend like
Practice.
hours
To
together.
practice.
Yeah.
And,
Then we would eat together.
Not just the three of us, like with other freshmen.
Yeah, yeah.
But Amber was part of it. We were part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I think I also cherished the time with Joseph even more when I found out that you were going away
Mm.
to the army for 2
yes.
years. And I think our whole grade felt like that too. Like, oh no, we gotta say bye to Joseph. You know, Joseph's like such a core like part of
I
our
wouldn't say
grade.
core, but
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I mean,
But, you know,
for sure.
and
I
then-
did feel like
Yeah.
that too.
And then I remember like before I went home, I flew out of Chicago and I went to Matt's house and Joseph was staying with Matt. So then I was like,
Right.
you know, I want to go say bye to Joseph too. And
Right.
I remember my whole grade, or at least like, yeah, and they were like, oh, you gotta see Joseph, you gotta say bye to Joseph another time. And I was like, yeah.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
But like, I think for Amber, the urgency was even more because you took a co-op.
That is true.
Oh yes.
So you
I
missed
remember
out.
that.
You missed out about a semester with, I guess, us.
Our grade.
Yeah.
That is
Mhm.
very, very true.
Yeah. So
remember now.
I remember that. Yeah. So that was interesting because you came back and you were like, "What the heck? We
Yeah.
knew Joe's leaving." But it was like, but yeah.
And all the Craner study sessions too.
Yes.
Yes.
Cranard study
We
session.
still do that now, but
Yes.
back then, every week.
Speaking of Cranard study session, Amber,
I knew it.
we're
I
gonna-
knew that you were
we're
gonna,
gonna- we're gonna-
use that.
we're going to talk about Cranard study sessions and how it not only helped you with your GPA, but also helped you with your...
cuffed.
All right,
Sorry,
I'll be
sorry,
honest
sorry,
with
sorry,
you.
sorry,
I thought this was
sorry.
something else. I was like, I was gonna say we gotta cut
Amber's
this.
just ready to talk about it, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my god,
Yeah.
the energy's
Ready
right
to
now.
talk about it.
So, Amber, you're in a relationship.
I am.
We both know him.
The guy.
Mhm.
So, how about you start? Because you just want
Okay.
you want to get it out
Well,
there.
because Matt was putting such a heavy emphasis on Craner study sessions, it's because I got closer with my significant other right now,
Woo!
Caleb Ho!
Shout out to Caleb.
Caleb
we
Ho!
love that hoe.
Yeah, we
Caleb
love that
Ho.
hoe. And I met this guy, obviously through Cornerstone, but Cornerstone always had a designated study area in our business school building, and so that's where we both just studied, and that's how we got close, and where we are now, almost a little over a year and a half strong.
Nice.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Do you have a first impression of Caleb or how you guys met?
I always thought Caleb was a very, like, a lot of people describe us as he's the guy version of me.
I can see that.
Very
and
much
a
so.
very funny guy, you know, very lighthearted, laughing, always making like
Weird.
jokes,
Mhm.
weird, you know,
Annoying.
quirky.
Annoying.
Yeah. All that.
Yeah, all that.
But Caleb doesn't look like an egg.
They get, oh yeah.
Caleb's a twig.
He's like
Monkey looking.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, like Caleb. Like I guess like we can like talk about Caleb a little bit more, like our perspective. Like Caleb was that dude where he would just the moment he would walk into the room, you just start laughing because
That's funny.
he's just such a funny guy. Like not funny looking. That's not what I'm trying to say. But he's maybe funny looking to some people. But like
Why you gotta say that, man?
But like he was just like a positive, funny guy. And like
Yeah.
his jokes were so like so good. His timing was amazing with everything. And also I think like to credit him even more, like his energy that he brought to Cornerstone was so big, especially when I was coordinator and also like a leader, because he would talk to everybody. It didn't matter because he was just a
Right.
funny dude. He just wanted to bring people together. He was so good at forming groups and keeping it good energy that like Caleb was just honestly amazing. So like when you and Caleb started dating, it was kind of like just that like, well, there was the guy version of who like put all the guys together and you would put all the girls together. It was like, wow, we just collided the two like strongest member forces together, and that was like
Forces!
crazy.
This is not Star
Y'all were
Wars!
clutch.
Like Caleb's
Y'all
that
were
guy.
clutch, yeah.
Caleb's that guy. If you haven't talked to him for months, or let's say you feel awkward talking to Caleb, he'll approach you as if you guys have been best friends for like
Oh, yeah.
weeks and like years.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
he'll just approach you like, "What's up, bro?" And then he'll just
Yeah.
like joke around with you,
Yeah.
and like
Mhm.
you'll feel so welcomed by his personality and his attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just like really, I found that very attractive too, like how nice
Nice.
he treated other people.
Mhm.
So that was really cool. And I want to give a big shout out to Adrian and Yash because those two were always like, "Oh, Amber, Mr. Ho is in here," or "Amber, Mr. Ho has arrived at
I know
Craner."
Adrian's a
And
big wingman guy.
Big wingman.
No, but
What's up,
Adrian's a
man?
big wingman guy, but he's not.
What?
He's a big wingman guy, but he's not a good wingman.
Yeah.
He just
He's way too
exposes
aggressive.
everything.
He's way too aggressive.
Way too aggressive
But
with it,
sometimes
but
you need that. Sometimes
But
you
yeah,
need to be
but
aggressive.
for some reason it works. I don't know why.
yeah, I
Sometimes.
don't know why, but sometimes it just really kept the ball rolling.
Mhm.
But I just remember, like, I realized that I liked Caleb because when Yash came up to me, Yash was like, "Oh, Amber, Caleb," I immediately blushed. Like, I was just like, "Oh no."
And the thing is, what
Oh,
we mentioned
no.
before, it's very noticeable.
Yeah.
Was Caleb, let's say, was Caleb someone that you met and then you immediately liked him, or you kind of grew to like him? Because I know
Oh,
you guys
first
met in
sight.
Cornerstone. He's a year older than you, so you came in as a freshman. He was a sophomore. You guys probably met or have heard of each other, interacted somewhat. But was that like an initial like, "Ooh, I like this guy," or was it like over time? Oh, he's like, I like his personality, and then you eventually ended up liking him.
Yeah, definitely not liking him right away. I think I just saw him as a really good friend at first. It was right after my co-op, and I remember I just saw him everywhere. I just saw him in Craner. I saw him walking back from the gym. I saw him like we were on the same bus together. And I just like, oh yeah, like what is this guy? Like, you know, like I don't know him. And we just so happen to be business. There's rarely a lot of business majors in Cornerstone if you think about it.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure, but at the time he was the only finance guy.
He was the finance guy.
The finance
everyone knew
guy.
Max
Because
for
Andrew
finance.
Lee graduated.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
Supply chain.
That's right.
Yeah, he
So-
left.
Yeah, and at the time I was trying to like get into Craner at the time, and so I asked Caleb, I'm like, oh yeah, what are some, you know, tips on how I can do well in econ or accounting? And like he was always very good at that. One thing we're very different is because I'm not good at accounting, I'm not good at econ, but he is very good at
Yeah.
that.
He's very good at that.
And then I remember asking him like, oh, you know, like he was in, you know, the notorious investment banking career, and I remember getting interested in that. Like I want to hear more, so I asked him about that. So I think that sparked some interest, but yeah.
So it was like a gradual thing. Because like,
It was definitely a
you
gradual
probably
thing.
met like freshman year, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you probably saw him around. Like he came out to everything.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty active.
Yeah. I think that's actually like kind of different how couples form in Cornerstone. I think Cornerstone it's kind of like boom and then 3 months boom, you know. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, you made me think of a good point because when I came back from my co-op, I was so focused on just like making sure I get good grades, and I did not have any intention to date someone from Cornerstone. And I even made that a goal actually freshman year. I was like, I'm not going to date anyone in Cornerstone. I don't want any guy from Cornerstone. I don't want to be part of that trend or something.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, when I came back from my co-op, I was like, okay, Amber, you need to, be more, what's the word? You need to be more dependent on yourself. Don't have like a goal to find a relationship.
Right.
And I think a lot of people told me that they come when you least expect it. And I can guarantee that I did not plan to like date Caleb at all or get interested. And obviously, when we were talking, actually, that's when we got sent home for quarantine. So that's another thing is that I noticed we were very hesitant to date, actually, because he said, I'm going to be investment banking. I'm graduating soon. And I don't know if, like, investment banking is going to be a good career to hold up a relationship.
Ooh.
In the end, it was completely fine, but that definitely made me, like, very hesitant and stuff. And so I also didn't know, like, I'm very grateful that he was still able to be on campus for a little bit and we still test out how we would be in person in a real relationship.
Right.
And then obviously when he graduated, he actually stayed back to campus.
He did.
He did.
So that's also a good chance for him to be with friends and me. And then now when we started doing long distance, I guess that ties into long distance relationships.
But quick question before, was he your first boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'd never been in a relationship.
Same with Caleb too.
He had like a fling in high school.
So first relationship.
So
first
pretty
relationship.
much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
I think we can go back maybe though, but you did mention how you made a goal to not date in Cornerstone.
Oh yeah.
I know it's a pretty big thing in Cornerstone. Like people get like dating someone within Cornerstone. I just wanted to ask, like, what are your thoughts on now having dated someone from Cornerstone? Was that something, or was the experience what you expected? Because, like, what made you not want to date someone in Cornerstone? And then when you did the concerns that you had for dating someone in Cornerstone come up, or was it, like, completely different than you expected?
That's a really good question. I think back then, I wanted to date a white person because I grew up in a white town. And I just always thought to myself, this is going to expose me a little bit, but I don't think this at all anymore. But I was pretty sheltered-minded back then. And I used to think, I don't want to be seen with a bunch of Asians. Like, that's so embarrassing. Because that's what I used to think back at home.
Okay.
So I told myself, no, don't date an Asian. Like, date a white person. And you should date a whitewashed guy, like, or at least if they're Asian. I will say Caleb has actually those kind of aspects. He can be a little whitewashed if you think about it. But yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. And then it was mainly like the embarrassing factor if I dated Asian, in my personal thought.
So since Cornerstone's Asian, you just kind of initially...
Yeah. And that was a huge, like, growth for me to be like, oh yeah, like, like being with all these like Asian people, like this is like so nice to have people relate to you. And a lot of people in Cornerstone actually grew up in white communities too when they grew up.
Yep.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you guys talked about that in your previous podcast. So, yeah, that was my thought process. And then in terms of, like, just also, I always wanted someone that was Christian too. But it was very interesting with me because in freshman year, sophomore year, I did not think about relationships at all. It was very weird. I can't explain it, and I think that's, like, all I can say because I literally did not want to date anybody because I didn't feel ready myself. And I also, at the time, I was such an insecure person, and I was like, no, I can't. I need to just get ready myself. I can't date someone right now.
Right. Because I do know a lot of people, like you mentioned, are initially attracted to people in Cornerstone, not only because, they're pretty or they're nice, but also the Christian aspect, because Cornerstone is a Christian club or associated with the church organization, and, like, we do services and whatnot. So people tend to think like, if I want to date a Christian, this is the spot I need to look at. If I look at people in my classes or look at people in different clubs, I won't get that Christian check mark off the box.
Yeah.
And, like, no matter how active or not they are in Cornerstone, if they're from Cornerstone, at least they have a sense of Christianity, or they know about Christianity, or they could be a really strong Christian themselves. So it's a much more safe haven for, like, searching for Christians. And then there's the Asian aspect as well, with Cornerstone being heavily more Asian, and if people want to date Asians. So I know people, like, dating in Cornerstone is not uncommon. It's actually a lot of people end up dating.
It's a little less common now.
Yeah.
That is true, but I think that's also because we're coming straight off COVID. And with COVID happening, like, people just haven't been able to socialize with the people in Cornerstone. So even the sophomores now, they feel like freshmen, or they're very new to a lot of new things because they just haven't experienced the on-campus experience with Cornerstone.
Like, this is a joke, but not really. But I'm included in this. The guys in Cornerstone, we need to step it up. We're a bunch of idiots.
You're right. I mean,
we're a bunch of idiots.
Not gonna lie, Purdue's ratio of guys and girls, especially in Cornerstone, is pretty bad.
We're
a lot more guys than girls.
There's a lot more guys, but we're all so stupid.
We all just act so dumb.
But it's very common for people to be like, "Oh, is this a potential, person that I can be with?"
Especially for guys.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. It's a natural thing, and it's But I also want to give a big shout out to Yasmin, Bernice, and David Chapman, because those three would like try to get Caleb and I to realize that we both like each other. And I used to be like, "Oh, Bernice, Yasmin, like, what did Caleb say to David? Like, does David, or does Caleb like me?" And all that. And they were really close with David Chapman. And obviously David's like really close friends with Caleb. So those three definitely were like also the middleman too during quarantine, actually.
Can I ask, how did it happen? Like, how did he ask you out?
Actually, first of all, I know that story too. But first of all, before that, it was really obvious to us. At least to me.
I feel like any relationship
because like think about it, because like Amber mentioned those like Craner sessions before. We were also at that Craner session, and like it would just always happen that Caleb and Amber are on the same table, and like. Amber's like red as a tomato, cuddling over her computer, right? Trying to be all proper and everything, right? And then the moment will be ruined when Adrian.
Yo, Amber!
It's like, what's up, boy? Like he would do that. And
then, Caleb.
And then like Yash would be there too, and like we would all giggle to ourselves, like they like each other, right? Because it was like because it was the first time where like we saw like you guys giving each other specific individual attention. You guys you didn't really care about all the other people there. Like you would literally come with Suzie and then like never, sit by Suzie. You would sit by, Caleb. So we knew about it. That was really funny because like, remember like you guys would like play it off. And we're all give you the look like, boy, like, is he like blind?
Yeah. Caleb would be like, Amber, are you gonna go back to Hawkins? Which is like literally a 1 minute walk. He's like, I'll walk you back. I'll make sure you don't walk back alone. And I'm like, it's only a minute walk. But yeah.
and then you'll be like, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And then we're all like, ooh.
Ooh, they're walking together.
Yeah. But how Caleb asked me out is it was during quarantine and he called me actually, but it was through
I think I've heard of it, but I don't know the full story.
And Yasmin texted me. He told Yasmin that he wanted to talk to me and that he liked me, and Yasmin knew. But I really appreciate Yasmin and Bernice for not directly telling me, because they wanted me to find it through Caleb, not them.
Right. So
that made it a little bit more special. So that so when obviously Caleb texted me, he was like, "Hey, can we talk?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my gosh!" And then and then he calls me, and he calls me, right? And I put on a full face of makeup. I dress up, whatever, like at least kind of look nice, look cute. I put on mascara, put on eyeliner, everything, foundation. And then he picks up and I go, "Oh, are we not doing video call?" He goes, "It's fine. We can just call." And I was like, okay.
My man was like, he's wearing a tank top with shorts on his bed. Like, he was not ready.
He was so in there, he can't make eye contact with you.
Right?
Yeah, but I was blushing the whole time, and that was like an hour-long call. So he started off with, "Well, I assume you must know why I'm calling, or you must be like wondering why I'm calling." And then he just sounded really nervous. And then I was really nervous, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like I don't know why you're calling." Just kidding.
I just put on a full face of makeup. It's like, wow.
I was following a tutorial.
Yeah, and obviously I put on extra because, as Matt says, I flush a lot. So I put on extra foundation.
But you said it still goes through, right?
It still goes through.
Yeah, it still goes through.
Which is such an issue. Yeah. Anyways, but then Caleb's like, "So I just like wanted to let you know that," this is how he said it, "this is how I want to let you know is that like I like you, and I was just wondering if like you have the similar opinions that as me." And I was like, "Why would you phrase it like that?"
He's busted out this business vocabulary.
He just asked you like, "King James, do thou love thou?"
Yeah. And
I
then
like my feelings are reciprocated.
Like he's talking to himself. So like I was wondering.
Yeah. And so, obviously I was like, yeah, I like you too. And then, like, we just started laughing the entire call. Like, it was just, like, out of awkwardness and, like, nervous and anxiety. We were just, like, laughing it off. And then now we were just, like, I told him, I was like, I'm just, like, very hesitant because I know you're going to be in a very busy career. And I don't know if that's going to be able to, like, will we even be able to, like, have a relationship? Are you going to be too busy with work? No time for me? I was really thinking way too ahead. So he's like, so I guess, like, what do we do now? I was like, well, I don't think I want to, like, be in an official relationship right now. Maybe until we in person when we're back on campus.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so you didn't date?
Not right away.
Oh, okay.
So I would consider, like, a thing. We were a thing throughout the entire quarantine.
Okay.
And we would talk.
So that would be the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so then he was like, okay, yeah, I agree. And I was like, yeah, I think right now let's just keep talking, and then back on campus, let's see. We come back to campus, we date a week later. But you know.
You took a responsible approach to it, I think, though.
Yeah. That was the biggest debate. I'm like, should I date him? Should I not? Like, you know.
It wasn't like compatibility. It was all about, like, you know, the future.
Making sure, thinking ahead.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me, though. And I think this is a very unique time period where we have the whole pandemic going on. It's like, usually when people have things, it's because they get to see each other, right? And they would hang out together. But you guys had a thing over quarantine, and it was all through online texting. How was that like? Because you haven't been in a relationship before, so I don't know what if you know what it feels like to have a thing with people around you.
Yeah.
But what was it like having to, I guess, express your interest to Caleb online or like over quarantine?
It was more like who can initiate conversation the most. And so I was like, hey, like, do you want to FaceTime? And he was actually in his spring break trip with his friends in Florida. And I was like, hey, like, do you want a video call? And he was like so shocked that I asked that. And so as we kept having that call, then we started having one call a day.
Oh.
So, yeah. Actually.
Video call a day.
Video call a day.
Because you know what they always say, right? Like, if you ask on call to hang out. Like,
I'm sorry. Not every day. Once a week.
Oh, once
a week.
I was about to say.
I'm sorry.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but because you know that, like, taboo thing, like, if you ever, like, text to date or, like, call to date, you're like the scum of the earth. But now it's like it could potentially be now, like, a norm because
you have to,
because, like, now, like, you can connect with people across the world. Like, how are you gonna just, you know, show up and pop the question? So, like,
yeah. And I actually think Caleb was very upfront about, like, his feelings for me, because even before, like, because when we, like, when he officially, like, told me that he liked me, he was like, we used to get Windsor lunches together. So it was always Tuesdays and Thursdays thing. So we always got lunches every week on those 2 days during the regular, before quarantining. Right. And then, like, when he texted me, he's like, this is when we were also, like, debating, like, is everyone gonna just stay home for the rest of the semester, or are they gonna come back to campus? Right. I wanted to come back to campus so I could be with Caleb. And Caleb's like, are you gonna come back? You know, like, maybe we can get, like, lunch, like, it doesn't have to be just Tuesdays and Thursdays. It could be every day. And I was like, oh.
You jumped the gun.
My guy's
that's pretty direct. Yeah, that's pretty direct.
It was pretty direct.
That's pretty direct.
So, yeah.
How about every day? Like, for the rest, you know, like, the year?
Yeah. But I really think God's timing was so good to us because we got to experience, you know, each other as friends for a little bit in person, then quarantine, and then that was even, like, practicing, like, a long-distance relationship. Right. And so we were very, like, consistent in when we want to call. So every Friday night we just, like, talked, caught up. And then we also had those summer small groups.
Oh, I didn't do that. I remember.
But yeah, and then we were in the same small group. So then afterwards we also talked about, like, what did you
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
You did. Now you've mentioned it, but now he's graduated. He's doing whatever he's doing, but you guys are in long distance phase, and you guys will probably be in long distance for a bit until things develop more. How's that going? Like, long distance relationship? Yeah. The first part was so hard because I was so used to having him there. Like, he even stayed back for me on campus after he graduated for a semester. And I was like, I don't think I took that for granted, though, because I always, like, cherished that time that he was so close to me. And the second that I came back for my first day of senior year, I cried, like, 2 weeks straight in a row at nighttime. Because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have Caleb. And
even though I had all my friends with me, like I got to reunite with Bernice after 2 years of quarantining. I got to reunite with like Ariana, Michelle, what?
No, not Matt.
Wait, no, you were here with me. And then I was like, yeah, even though I have all these like so many friends around me, I still felt so lonely. Because it's like I hung out with him like every day when he was back. So that was a really, really hard transition. But I would say now we're doing like completely fine with long distance.
Nice.
Like there's always parts, you're always going to get that like small like splurge of, oh yeah, like I wish, you were with me right now, or I want to cuddle and all that stuff. And so definitely I think my love languages has changed a lot too.
But you visit often.
I do visit often.
Which is nice, which is really cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I like give Caleb a lot of credit, because even though he had such a busy investment banking, and this is where our fear was coming, like we were like, oh my gosh, he's gonna be so busy. He always made sure to make time for me at nighttime, whether it be 30 minutes or an hour. He just always set aside like that specific time for me. And
That's
so
probably not hard for him. He's
awesome.
probably like
Yeah.
looking forward to that time. Honestly.
that is true.
No, but it's hard because like
Yeah.
there's days he's tired and like
That
he
is
still
true.
makes effort. That.
Would you guys say
He's a
you're
real one,
still
he's a
in
real
your
one.
like honeymoon phase, or like, are you guys still like in that lovey-dovey phase, or is
Mm.
it kind of like now settling in that, oh, this is gonna be a relationship that we're gonna commit to,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna have to work towards?
Mm-hmm. We're at a point where I think honeymoon phase is dying down, but we obviously still have those lovey-dovey like moments with each other.
Right.
But now it's more thinking a little bit more seriously, because I'm about to graduate too.
Right.
So we've always had the security of, okay, let's just wait until Amber's out of school, and then I'm still in school and I'm about to graduate.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, the real world stuff is about to like happen with a real job. He has a real job, and then that's kind of like, it's going to be a big change. And also because I had Cornerstone with me too, to keep me and help me handle a long distance relationship and distract me from Caleb in a way of being far from him. So I'm very nervous, but he will actually be in Chicago though. So this is actually,
So it's
we
working
won't,
out.
yeah. So it's really working out. But yeah.
That's amazing. I think like all the credit to you guys. I always say like some of the strongest people in the world are those who like go through long distance relationships, because I only experienced it for like a little bit, and like even that little bit was just so difficult.
Yeah.
So like shout out to you guys. You guys are crazy strong. Like you guys are. I'm so glad you guys are continuing, and it seems to be going really well. So that's awesome, because yeah, it's crazy how like with God's timing too.
Yeah.
How like it was tough. But then he was even able, because he graduated for those people, he graduated a semester early.
Right.
That is
But
true.
he decided to stay one extra semester. He got a place, and then he was still able to hang out with Amber. And then the year happened, but then they were able to visit, because I think Amber's schedule was made time for that. And then on top of that, now he's transferring to Chicago, and she's working in Chicago. It's like, wow, like this timing is insane.
It really
it's awesome.
is insane. And I pray about it so much, because I have really bad anxiety when it comes to like thinking about the future, which I'm sure many, many people do.
Yep.
And I always be like, oh my gosh, like what if just something happens, like during school or whatever.
I mean, COVID is big enough.
Yeah.
Already.
And me and Caleb had a really serious talk. I'm like, so Caleb, just be upfront with me. Like, what are you scared of anything when I like am on campus and you're working? He's like, I always think, what if you like leave me for someone, because you're like surrounded by like a bunch of like guys your age. And so I think like that also, being transparent with each other, and also like making a promise to like be loyal to each other. Because I genuinely like, I don't think like, oh yeah, what if like,
Prince Charming comes
along and I just like leave Caleb or something.
There ain't no
Like,
Prince Charming.
yeah.
You don't have to worry about that.
So
No, but even like I think like it's weird, because like obviously like the like how I phrase it, like the obvious thing is you have to stay loyal, right? Like in a relationship, but like for some reason saying it just provides so much comfort and like reassurance, and kind of just like, whew, you knew it. You knew Caleb. You knew yourself that you were going to remain loyal. Caleb knew that you were going to remain loyal. But like for some reason when you say it, it's like you need to be transparent, like you just mentioned. It's like, whew,
It's
like all right, I can sleep today. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. And I think a lot of, ever since dating Caleb, this was a major green flag, was that all my insecurity just started like leaving me.
Oh.
Like it was just like he made me feel like, Amber, none of that matters to me. Like I promise you, like at least from my perspective, like nothing matters, and to me, like his opinion was just all that matters to me.
And I think that's so cool because I think we know Caleb is just this goofball,
Exactly.
right? And I think it's like it's so nice to see how like sweet and like caring he is for you, and that's awesome. I think that's
being
really
very
cool.
validating.
That's super.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that our relationship is perfect. Like, no relationship is perfect. Like, we've had our ups and downs, for sure. And we've had, like, a fighting stage where it's just, like, I think I unfairly get mad at him because I miss him. But I took it out on him. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. But, I mean, it's, like, yeah. And I used to just, yeah. I couldn't be mean to him sometimes because it's just, I'm frustrated that he's not with me.
Right.
But.
You can't do that, fool.
Excuse me?
I mean, you said you were graduating soon. Matt's also graduating soon. Like, Matt, would you ever, like, let's say you meet someone, right, and this person's potentially going to be your girlfriend. Like, would you ever sign up for long distance, like, knowing you're going to graduate now? Because you don't, I mean, I'm in a different boat because although I'm the same age as you guys, I have a year and a half left. So I'm not really as concerned as about graduating and leaving campus and having a girlfriend left on campus or whatnot. But since you're graduating soon, Matt, like, would you be concerned? I mean, long distance is eventually going to happen if you start dating. Like, is that a big concern to you, or is that like affect your chances of, like, I guess dating someone just because it's going to end up?
It doesn't, because I think as you grow up, or at least this is how my view when I grew up, I think anything's possible. Like, I don't like setting rules. I don't like setting boundaries for myself. So if there is somebody that shows up, or I am with somebody right now, like it's I'm not like fearful of it. I want to like prepare for it, rather than just like fear it. Does that make sense? Like I don't want to like go into it if I am going through it, like just be like, oh shit, like I'm not gonna be able to see them, or I'm it's gonna be hard. Like I have to call them, right? I'm not like thinking about that. I'm like, okay, so how can I call them?
Yeah.
How can I find time with them? I'm not like, oh, I'm so scared of it, because I think for me, like when I date somebody, it's never just like, oh, okay, whatever. I see the future with them, right? So. It's a little bit different. I think also because I've been through it, I kind of know what to do. I can't say that I like actually been through it. My long distance happened my freshman year, my first semester, and it's just like I think it's like time management, a lot of it, and I think I had none of that my freshman year, because like you're young, you're stupid, you don't really know what to do.
You just want to be social with them.
You want to be social, like college, like you like realize like you can literally do something every hour. Exactly. You can do something every hour, right? There's something available for you to do. So I think time management is a big thing, but I also think too, like what I realized, like talking to some people who are also in long distance relationship out of college, you actually there's more structure, because it's kind of like your 9 to 5, and then and then you just kind of do
classes,
whatever,
and then you do whatever you want.
Because like it's different, because like when we finish classes around 5, we have homework, but when you finish work,
what do you do?
Work's done. Like work starts next time at 9, next day at 9, right? So like I think once I like find somebody or whatever, or if I'm with somebody and like I go to work and I know my schedule and I find the routine, I don't think it will be that bad.
That is very
But
true.
I think what will be bad is like how long is the long distance?
That's a good point.
Because I don't feel too comfortable. Like if someone said, okay, we're gonna be long distance for I know this is a crazy number, but like 5 years, and then we'll be together, I'm okay with that, because at least I know 5 years, right? But if it's kind of like not sure, then it's like it's like, ooh, the uncertainty is a little bit, anxiety, it gets to me.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like if for that person, I think it's just finding that structure. Like, okay, is there a plan? I always like having plans.
I just really like how you say, instead of fearing it, you prepare for it. Because I was the opposite. I feared it, and I didn't know how to prepare for it.
But trust me, like when I first experienced it, I feared it.
I mean, that's.
I think it's like, but I think when you kind of like go through a little bit of it, you kind of like, okay, well, it's not all that bad.
Yeah.
It's definitely bad, but it's not like you're hopeless, right? So it's a little different. That's why, like, every time I hear somebody in a long distance relationship, I'm like, dang, you're a strong person. You're willing to sacrifice so much to be with this person. That's really admirable. It's really, really admirable. So like, shout out to like Amy, Adrian.
That's true.
Ryan, Kelly, Sarah Youngsick. Like all those guys just doing it. Like Yifei, like you guys are. Those guys are crazy. Like you guys are crazy strong. Like in a good way. Trust me. So.
What about you, Joseph? Like being like you're from Korea, so I don't know what your plans are after graduation. I know it's like you got one more year.
Yeah.
So either you like work in the US or you go back to Korea to work.
Mhm.
So is there ever that notion like, oh yeah, what if I meet someone and most likely they will stay in the US and
Right.
you will have to go back to Korea, you know?
Right. I've never, and I think, like you said, a relationship comes when you least expect it.
Mm,
I'm not actively, although I jokingly say like I really want a girlfriend.
yeah.
It's not
I'm
joke.
ready.
It's not joking.
I'm so preoccupied with classes and
Yeah.
like schoolwork and like focusing on graduating
Mm,
and what I'm gonna do next that I don't have time to really think about all that. It is a concern that my home base is not where I plan to work. Like like my parents' home or like my permanent address is in Korea,
mhm.
but I identify myself with working here, or at least going to school here. Gonna probably get a job here at first. Who knows afterwards?
Mm.
But with the girlfriend, like if they're, let's say, located or their home is in America and I go back home for break and it's in Korea, like that's automatic long distance for however
Exactly.
long break is.
That's not just long
But-
distance. That's like
Different time zone, different
Mhm.
like so I've always thought like ideally I would find a girl that has similar background and has like the international thing that we have to go back to their home country, like not
Mm.
home state, it would be home country.
that'd be
But
perfect.
that's such a small pool of
Yeah.
people compared to what's out there. So I'm transitioning into more of like whoever comes along,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna question it.
Yeah.
Until it becomes an issue that I have
Mhm.
to deal with,
Mm.
and like Matt said, that don't really fear it, but more just kind of
Yeah.
mentally prepare and be like, okay, I most likely will have to do long distance at one point. That's just life. I feel like with most people,
Yeah.
it's very hard to find someone that's gonna be with you the whole time. So
Mhm.
most likely we'll end up doing long distance anyway, so might as well make it so that if it doesn't work out, at least I have a career to fall back on, or at
Mm.
least I have my things straight, so that if it doesn't work out, right, like
Yeah.
not everything leaves with the girlfriend. Like I have
Mhm.
things to fall back on and I have a foundation and whatnot.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like
Mhm.
I don't think. And I also was wondering, and I was gonna ask you guys, like, and Matt mentioned how it's a matter of how long the long distance is. Some people can last pretty long, but at some point you guys are gonna have to move in together. Are you guys? What are your views on like moving in together before getting married or officially tying the
Mm.
knot? Because I know it's more modern now with the site. Is like, let's say, or you guys apply for a job in the same city or the same area, and you guys happen to be working nearby enough that you can live together.
Mhm.
What's that like crossing point, or when do you feel comfortable enough to get to a point where it's like we can just probably live together, and then even though we're not married, we're pretty committed to each other. We'll just use it as a way for us to be together, but we'll be doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Or like even like just applying for a new job and your like search location is where your boyfriend or girlfriend's at.
Mm.
Is like I'm ending my contract soon and I gotta find a new job or
Yeah.
renew. But if I have the opportunity, am I going to move towards where they're at for a new job?
Yeah.
Like making moves to make it more
Mhm.
convenient.
I think there comes a point where you need to make sure when's the right time to start making real big sacrifices for your partner.
Mm.
And so like by that I mean like right now, let's say like I did not plan to go to Chicago because of Caleb. I went to Chicago because I want to be in Chicago, and
Right.
obviously that's where the company just so happened to place me. Like there was another company that I wanted to go to New York for, and I was so close to taking that, and then this company popped up. So then it gave me Chicago. And a lot of people say, oh, you're doing Chicago as a Kayla? I'm like, first of all, he's not even going to in Chicago. And second of all, like, I'm doing it because I want to. You know, it's my career.
Right.
And that's one thing that I wanted in a relationship was that my person will realize that being in my early 20s, I didn't want to do everything to be with that person right away. Like, I think there has to be, like, a point where I need to be like, I want to live with my friends. And my goal is to live with them for the rest of my life. So why not spend this time, my young life, to live with my friends, build a career for myself, and then start thinking about, you know, like when can you move in with them. And another thing is my parents also, both me and Kayla's parents would not let us move in together right now. So that's just another big factor.
You're right.
And so I haven't really talked about this with my parents yet, because I think my parents keep telling me, like, let's take it slow with this relationship. Like, not that we disapprove of Caleb. They approve of him, but they're like, if you are moving in with him so fast, that's when we start seeing a red flag, I guess. Because they want things to work out and take things slow.
I'm in the same boat because I think not at that point, but also I think personal space is something that
Right.
becomes difficult, especially like because like it's interesting because like my family like one of mom's upstairs and dad's downstairs and they never interact because you know it's like you know the personal space, the personal time, right?
Right.
That's important. I think if we're asking like would you cohabitate with your partner right away, I would say no too. I think it's nice to have your own place. Like obviously they can come over like you know once or twice a week or you know whatever, that's fine. But I think having your own space, not just like sleep, but like just do work. Maybe invite some friends over, right? Have a party, kind of that, or like, and then like also like there's that also notion where like it keeps the relationship fresh, quote unquote, right? Because if you see them every day, you wake up every day and you see them, it's kind of like, well, okay, well this buffoon is next to me again, you know, it's like rinse and repeat, becomes not mundane but the same. So I think like the same way like living separately for a little bit, you know, like keeps it you know fun. Maybe fun is the right word. Because obviously when you get married, right, it's like, you know, you're going to end up hating each other, like, you know what I mean? But like, because, you know, you're always together, right, taking care of the kids, whatever, stuff like that when you're married. So, like you mentioned, it's going to, like, it's like right now I'll live probably with my friends or by myself for 5 years, and then the next 60 are going to be with, you know, right? So, yeah. I think,
and I also, like, look at, you know, Johnny and Rebecca.
Yeah.
These, they were in Cornerstone. They got married right after graduation.
24.
And I've always like wanted to reach out and ask them like how. I don't think I'm at a point where I'm thinking about that yet.
Is young.
It is young,
Super young.
really really young. But I want to like see their thoughts. Like, is it okay in a Christian life to move in before marriage? Like, I don't know if there's like a notion behind that.
I think the notion is like the temptations that come from living together.
Maintaining purity.
Maintaining purity. I know, like, I had a long debate about this with Pastor Kim, and like I argued with him. It's not a sin to cohabitate. There's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt not live in an apartment with a significant other. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing in the Bible that says that. But I think it does say like, you know, the temptations, that the intimacy, all that stuff that comes with
it comes.
That there's a higher chance they'll happen if you live together. I think that's
very
tempting.
Yeah.
So.
But I also like I think I want to live with them before marriage because like I want to see how I am living with them.
There's so many things you can learn from just living with someone. Oh yeah. And when I talked with Johnny about it, he actually told me he would not recommend not only dating with someone in college because that just drains so much time from being in college, because college is honestly for school, like for learning, right?
Yes.
I mean, the interaction, the networking, the meeting the people, dating is all part of the package. But you can also do that without college if you really tried. College is there for school, and if you're not able to be successful through school, then you kind of aren't like fulfilling your college purpose, right?
That's a really good
And
point.
then the second thing he recommended was don't live with like your best friend, because that ruins your relationship with your best friend. And Johnny personally, a roommate after freshman year, like with one of his best friends, and they ended up hating each other for like 2 years just because they had those petty arguments with each other of living habits. And that just made a huge rift up between them two. And they eventually made up, and now they're fine. But he told me, like, I would not recommend rooming with your best friend. And I think that goes with, like, significant others. Because you learn so much, and you might not be at a point where you're ready to embrace that. Like, you might not be able to, like... And especially because it's an opposite gender. Like, some of the, I mean, hygiene, but also, like, just living habits and necessities between, like, being a male and a female is different. And
that's true.
That could be overwhelming on top of a relationship that's still fresh. So that's what I thought is like, you shouldn't be so quick to jump the gun with living with your significant other, just because you might not be ready. But I do agree on like maybe you should live.
Just to like see their living habits, and are you okay with like being with someone that lives like that for the rest of your life? And that's such a scary thing to think about. Like, this person is gonna be the person that you are living with. They're your forever roommate if you think about it like that.
But you hear a lot of things where it's like the divorce rate in the United States is like 50%, right? So I think in a way, like you keep hearing that, like you end up maybe being too careful, which might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. So you're like, okay, maybe live together, and then, oh shoot, I really hate this habit about him. You know, I'm gonna break up now so I don't get married. But like that could happen. But I'm sure not many people do that. But there's always that fear, right? Of like making the wrong decision, right? Because not that you can fake it, but like you could hide some things, right? Like maybe like, and it's gonna be like things like, you know, cleanliness, hygiene, all that crap. So it's a hard question. It's definitely a hard question. Long distance, man. That's tough.
You know, never. I don't think if you can avoid it, you should probably avoid it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But long distance is one of those things where it's like you're gonna have to go through it at some point.
Yep.
And it's whether or not you're ready for it, you're gonna have to deal with it when it comes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, if you can avoid it, I would recommend. Not from experience, but from what I've heard. Because you
Mhm.
always hear like people ending their relationships due to complications of long distance, and they just can't be able to like manage all that time.
Yeah.
But if you're able to tough it out, I think that's a true relationship right there. Like you guys are pretty strong.
Yeah. That's why they say long distance really strengthens your relationship. And I also like an advice to all the people that are single and have never been in a relationship is don't have such a high expectations on like what you think your relationship's gonna look like. Because my love language has been a 180. You know, like physical touch was low on my thing. And then ever since long distance, physical touch is my number 2 now. And
Right.
you know,
Well, we can probably share like what is your dominant love language? Like, have you taken the
Just
thing?
like number 1. Give us number
Test.
1.
acts of service. That's my number 1.
Oh.
And that actually was my last one. Because I thought, oh, acts of service makes me look like I'm high maintenance. Like, I want people to do things for me. But
I see.
that made me realize being in long distance, Caleb taking out that 1 hour of his day out of his really busy investment banking schedule, that was like acts of service to me. Like, he's doing that not small thing, but he's giving up that for me. Or also, like, if he, like, does something that he knows that he doesn't like, but I like it,
Right.
I find that I'm very appreciative of that.
Mine's always words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has been constant. I think the other 4 might change.
Mhm.
But number 1 has always been words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
I think for me, like, just hearing, like, nice things, it really helps me. Like, so,
Yeah.
because I think, like you mentioned before,
Mhm.
like, I'm, like, someone who, like, you can just feel like you can just, you know, joke around and they always
Yeah.
make fun. So I think, like, I always tend to have a lot of, like, not negative, but, like,
Mhm.
not necessarily positive things, you know, said
Yeah.
at me. Like, my mom and my family, like, they always, like, they never, like, compliment me. It's always, like, you're an idiot. You know, like, you're just, like, it's, like, they mean it in a good way. But I think, like, when I hear, like, oh, like, you know, I'm a nice person or something like that, it really helps me.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
that's how I behave, too. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but every time worship team ends, like, I always fist bump everybody and tell them they did a good job. Just because, like,
Yeah.
I know it helps me, so I want to do it for other people. Like, that's just how I behave. So
The reason why words of affirmation declined in my list is because I know what Caleb thinks. Like, when you're with them for so long,
It doesn't
I know
become
what
as
he would
meaningful.
think about me. But if he says, you know, like, oh, you look really good today, that makes my day. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, I think it's like a lot lower
Yeah,
because
right.
I know him so much now that I know his thoughts and how he thinks and what he thinks of me. So, yeah. But words of affirmation was number 1 when I was in a thing with him because I was like, oh, I want to hear him say all this stuff to me.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about, you know.
I mean, I think for me, and I've told Matt and Suzie this. Like, my number 1 is physical touch, and that does sounds like, you know, oh, sus, like whatever. But for me, it's like as a kid, my mom would always express her love as like holding my hand or like giving me a hug. Like no words needed, no like gifts or anything could really make me happy. But like in the car, I'll be in the back and she'll be in the front, and like she'll be driving with one hand and holding my hand, like when I'm like sad.
Right.
Or just like out of love, she'll like say, "You want to?" Like she'll grab my hand, or like she'll give me a hug. And for me, I rarely like express. Like I'll do a lot of verbal, a lot of like words of affirmation, gifts. Like I'll buy things for people just to get the mood going. But I rarely express physical touch to other people because that's so reserved for me as love. Like if I truly like this person, then I'll hug them more frequently, or I'll try to like touch their hand or like give them a hug or whatnot, or like pat on the back. Like that's my way of showing love, and that's something I grew up with, and I'm more accustomed to receiving love that way.
Yeah. Especially when you do long distance.
Yeah.
Physical touch is, like I said, it's my number 2 now.
Like, and I think with long distance you value physical touch or like the time together.
it's just funny because I had the opposite effect. My mom did that. Now I hate this. My mom, if you met her, she's always like, grabbing me, right, hugging me.
Really?
And like, it's not like I hate it, but it's like, I just don't feel that comfortable about it. So like obviously when you're alone, right, like, physical is just great, cuddling, like, whatever. But I think when I'm in, like in person and like people touch me and like hug me, I'm like,
right.
oh like, oh my god, you know, it's like kind of
That was
uncomfortable.
me.
Yeah, I'm
My
like,
mom
oh.
was actually never physical touchy with me. She never. This sounds so bad. My mom never gave me hugs, which is like interesting. And it's always my dad. My dad was the one that gave me.
Oh, my
hugs.
dad never took it. My dad.
My dad doesn't.
I guess
do
our
that
parents
either.
are-
Well, like my dad, like the only conversation we have is like, "You're alive? Okay, bye." Like, you know what I mean? Like all my dad cares about is that if I'm happy, I have money, and
Yeah.
I'm full. That's all he cares about. He could care less about anything else. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess to close off, I was gonna ask, and on the topic of family, like, does your brother know that you're dating Caleb? Like,
Yeah, my brother met Caleb.
Okay.
Caleb met my
Oh,
entire
unfortunate.
family.
Well, you met his family, right?
Yes, I
Oh,
did.
okay.
What's your brother's view on having a boyfriend? Like, does he teach you about it, or?
So a lot of people don't know who my brother is, but my brother is a very, very, very peculiar boy. He's
Talk about it.
yes,
Yeah.
he is in a way I would say kind of like Adam Bae, Matt's brother, where he's like in a point where he no. Excuse me, Adam, you are not stupid at all. It's your brother that's stupid.
Sorry, Adam.
It's in a way my brother is just he is a 70-year-old man in a in a how old is he 16-year-old body.
Dang.
And when Jacob saw Caleb, he was like, "Oh yes, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you." That's how Jacob talks.
Jacob's her brother. Jacob's
has
her brother.
yes,
Yeah.
Jacob is my brother. Adam has a very sophisticated like voice too, I think, in a way, and I find it like
He's very
so,
eloquent with his words.
Yes. Jacob is also very eloquent.
It's not eloquent to me.
It
I
is
get so
to me.
frustrated.
You rarely find people like that. I feel like because
That's
my
a
brother,
talent.
when Caleb came, Jacob's like, "Oh yes, nice to meet you, nice to meet you, nice to meet you," and you know, like, and then
Well, Adam does that too, because, you know, Adam does the thing where it's like, "Oh, Adam, like, are you really good at this?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm the best."
yeah, and they have a little like cockiness in them.
Yeah.
But I also think it's that maybe at that age they might
Right.
feel like that. But yeah, I think Jacob had a good impression on Caleb. I think Jacob asked Caleb like a lot of history questions because Jacob is so passionate about history. And Caleb's like, "Oh yeah, I think it's cool." And Jacob's like, "No, like you don't know my depth of like passion for history." Because Caleb's like probably like you guys, maybe you appreciate history, whatever. But my brother that's his like profession. He wants to be a history professor at Oxford University. That's his goal.
Ooh,
That's his
solid,
goal.
I mean,
man.
that's good for him. You got
got
the
a
goal.
passion.
I mean, man, when I was 16,
Dude, I was 16.
No, seriously, my
I'm
brother is a
stupid.
different breed. He practices LSAT questions for fun.
This guy.
I'm not
Biggest
joking.
nerd I've ever
I know.
heard.
No, seriously, he is. And like when Caleb came, like Jacob's like, "Oh, Caleb, why don't you do an LSAT question with me?" And Caleb's like, "What? What?"
oh, Elsa, wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
Is he really smart? I'm curious.
he sounds very nerdy.
he's like smart if he wants to. Like with math, he hates math, so he doesn't care about it. But if it's like
If
history,
he applies, that's
yes.
like exactly as my brother.
really,
Adam
yeah.
is very
he has
smart.
the brain for it, but he just needs to put effort in.
If he
Exactly.
doesn't apply himself, he won't.
Oh
do
yeah,
well, yeah.
that
That's
is
exactly.
100% Jacob.
Interesting.
And that's why sometimes I feel like every time I see Adam, wow, this whole thing with Adam just getting brought up. I have such a soft heart for Adam because I think he just reminds me of
your
my
brother.
brother.
I think for me, it's a little bit like, well, I've lived with him my whole life. I'm
Exactly.
kind of like, oh my god, stop being an idiot.
Exactly.
You know, like it's
and
like
you guys age gap.
like grow up, kind of like grow
Yeah.
up, mature. But then at the same time, I have to realize like, well, I wasn't the same when I was a
Mhm.
freshman, and then like
Yeah.
it's cool that you're like you have patience with him. I know sometimes he just puts out the most stupid
Mhm.
things, but like
I love that.
No, I think Adam. Actually, I won't say. I was gonna say my favorite freshman, but like I won't do that to the other freshmen.
you just said
You
it.
heard it
Okay,
here
sorry,
first.
I literally just said. it.
Amber's favorite freshman.
Actually, I just got a story about Adam. So today, yesterday he did the Wordle and he got like 4 out of 6.
Wordles.
And then he apparently redid the same Wordle by accident, and he got 5 out of 6 this time. So he had the same Wordle. He did the same Wordle twice, but this somehow worse the second time.
Oh my.
He's
So,
that guy.
so like Adam's like that's like Adam. Like like
Mhm.
he's not stupid, but he's just like he's clumsy,
Yeah.
right? He's like goofy,
And they're like naturally funny without even realizing themselves.
yeah.
That's the best,
That
honestly.
is seriously the best.
They're
I remember
funny
I
without
asked
even trying.
Adam, I was like, "Hey Adam, like how was the bowl by then?" It was okay. I mean, it wasn't really the best, I would say. That's how my brother would talk too.
Yeah. My brother also too, like I guess another nice thing about him is that he is amazing with kids. Like, if-
maybe our brothers aren't.
Oh no, like my
my
brother,
brother's not
like
either.
there's some kids who like never talk when I'm around there because they look at me like I'm some crazy person. But
Mhm.
then the moment Adam walks in the room, all of a sudden they can't stop talking and they can't stop having energy. So like Adam has an amazing ability with kids. He has a lot of patience with kids.
Yeah.
So like if y'all have kids and need a babysitter, like I swear, like Adam will be the
Adam's-
best
yeah.
babysitter because he'll play with the kid all day.
Adam's the
I
one.
see that.
Yeah, he'll play with the kid all day.
Yeah.
He
Jacob's
won't-
actually Jacob gets along with old people.
He's the elderly
He
sitter.
is the elderly
I mean,
He
he
keeps
talks
sister.
like
old
that,
people
he's like,
entertained.
hey.
Oh, he really does. Wow.
Well, at least your,
Yeah.
your siblings are good with people. My brother is he's a very solo guy. Like as a kid, he'll be like the cute kid, like running around doing his thing.
Mhm.
As soon as he hit like a maturity point, like
Mm,
very solo.
He
Like,
likes his solitude.
yes,
Yeah.
he's the guy who has his Kindle with everywhere he goes.
Mhm.
All of his pockets are overstretched because he has this Kindle that he sticks in every single pocket.
mm.
And we'll be at a family gathering, like eating family dinner. He'll
Yeah.
just pop the Kindle on the dinner table in front of all the relatives and cousins.
He's
He'll
an
just be-
iPad kid.
He'll just be reading like while we eat. I'm like, can you not like? He's like, the new series came out this week, and like my mom was picking me up from after school with like a couple of my friends,
Mm.
and they're like, oh hi Philip, because my brother was in the backseat, and I was like, oh hi Philip, like we heard about you, like oh you're so cute, or like when you come over, like we'll buy you food or whatever, and then he just like gets really quiet, he's like so.
Like, thanks.
Like my mom's like, you need to like
Mm.
reach out and talk to people more.
I
and,
feel like
do
if I met
things.
his brother, I'd be like, hey Phil, like I'm probably the guy that Joseph always mentioned. I housed them. Okay.
No, I guarantee you that's his response. Like he's a very big one word answer kind of guy.
Mm.
But if you get in an argument with him, he'll
Oh.
debate you to the death. Like he is so keen on being right all the time. No matter how wrong he is, he'll make himself sound really right.
Adam would do probably like, well, I don't know. I mean, I think I think about it sometimes.
That's such a
Depending
good.
on the weather.
No, my brother's a big debater. Huge debate. That's
Yeah.
why we think
I
he's
think
gonna
his
be a
brother
lawyer
should
one
debate
day.
My brother has no opinions.
Adam's a very neutral guy.
But it was not a bad thing. I'm not saying that a bad
Yeah.
way. Like Adam's not the type to debate. He's not the type to argue.
Mm.
Right.
He likes keeping the peace and he likes having good times rather
Yeah.
than like serious times. So
Dude, it'd be
Yeah.
so funny if we had all of our younger siblings on a
I
podcast
know.
once.
the problem is like, how tall's your brother?
A little old, taller than me, so
It's funny. Adam would be like a tower.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam's what, 6 foot now?
Adam's like 6 foot.
That's
But I think
crazy.
Adam's like 6 foot, like 190, 180. So he's a big
I feel
guy.
like-
He's a
My
big boy.
brother's like 5'9" now.
Yeah.
And he's only a freshman in high school.
Re-
So, I mean, I hope he gets to 6 foot. Like, that's my goal for him.
oh my.
But he's that one really shy, skinny, tall guy with his nose in the book all the time.
Glasses.
Oh wow.
No, he doesn't wear glasses, but he
Mm.
does
He
have
should.
contacts. Like
Yeah.
he has contacts overnight.
Mm.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be really funny.
he's the bookworm.
But like, if we're like going back to the relationship thing, whenever I was dating somebody, Adam
yeah.
would always go up to them and be like, "You love Jesus?" She'd be like, "Yeah." Okay.
All right.
And then goes downstairs. That's it. Never talk to her again.
Yeah.
My brother's the type of guy is like, if you start dating, I'm gonna be sad because we can't spend time together.
Oh.
Like he's
Really?
really charming that way.
My brother used to do that. And then now he does that.
No. I don't
Now
care.
any girl that like I invite over, like we hang out, and my mom and my brother are there, and my mom's like, oh, like she'll be like, oh, girlfriend, you know, like Elva and my brother would just kind of be like there. The girl will introduce like, hi, my name's blah blah blah, like I'm Joseph's friend, and he'll be like,
Pulls out the Kindle. Yeah. Okay.
The thing about Adam, what's funny is that I would bring back friends that I would hang out all the time. They always come over. He'd be like, "Sorry, who are you?" 'Cause
Nice to meet
he
you.
has like no clue.
for the first time.
Like I think like one time like Adrian came back
Oh,
and
no.
Adam like did not remember Adrian for some reason.
Oof.
He was like, "Oh, hi."
Yeah, Adrian was like, "What's up, Adam?"
Adrian was like, "You don't remember me?" He's like, "No, I remember you." Like, can you imagine Adrian, right? Like
Yeah.
such a recognizable person. Adam was like, no, like, and like he like, and it's
It's not
funny.
his
It's
fault
like
though. Like,
he would talk with us. He would like
Mhm.
eat with us. He would
Yeah.
hang out with us. We would drive him everywhere, and then like the next day he meets him like, oh, who are you?
Oh.
all right. Well, I think that's a good ending point. We talked for quite a bit,
How long?
an hour and 10 minutes now.
Oh,
Amber came with a question that we could answer. Finally, a question that we have prepared for the ending.
Mhm.
And the question is, what Marvel character would you be and why?
Matt, you go first.
Marvel character.
Marvel character.
Marvel character.
Don't say like Batman, because that'll upset a
That will
bunch of
upset a
people.
lot of people.
I want to be Wong.
What the frick?
Like from Doctor Strange?
Yeah, I love Wong.
That's like choosing
No,
that.
it's like I still have powers, right?
Okay.
I still got that knowledge, you feel me? But it's just like I'm like really troll and
You
like
want
I'm
to be
just
a side
I'm a
piece.
side I'm a not side piece. Don't say
Side
side piece. Side character. Don't say side piece.
The OP side character.
Dude, like I love Wong. I don't know. I think he's so
Wong
funny,
is
Wong. That's like me saying I like Ned.
no,
I wanna be
I
Ned.
feel like Amber's that guy in Ant-Man who's driving the van. He's like, "What's up?
Yeah,
I'm in the system."
yeah. That's
That
funny.
Mexican guy who
Yeah.
plays the criminal.
Oh.
So Wong for you?
Yeah.
I would say for me, maybe Spider-Man.
Wait.
Excuse me.
Oh, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Oh wait. Actually, wait. No, sorry.
Spider-Man.
No.
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I would choose Scarlet Witch because I feel like she's always the middle person in friend groups,
You right.
and I kind of relate to her in that sense because, I don't know, I've always been that middleman in a lot of my friendships and stuff, and she was always like making sure the Avengers work together.
Right.
So I relate to her.
Are we, just to clarify, are we answering who we want to be or
Who
who we would be?
Want to be?
Want to be. Well, I gotta give a shout out to Tony Stark.
Oh, my favorite.
Literally, like, when the first Iron Man movie came out, I was
That
like,
was a great
damn, that's
movie.
insane.
It's a great freaking movie.
Not only as, like, an engineer, but I was just like, bruh, like,
Yeah.
his wit and, like, his humor, but also his, like, intelligence and, like, everything about him was like, dang, I love this guy.
He's my favorite.
And Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, so I was just like,
Yeah.
But now my answer feels really weird.
No,
Why'd you choose Wong?
really?
wait, let's go second round. Who would you be? If you were someone in the MCU.
Oh, like what would I like? Just me, like my.
Like if we took Matt Bae's personality and character, like who you are, who would that best relate with in the Marvel universe? Like who would you think? Like I guess that's for me and Amber to decide. But like, who would you think you would be the most in?
Well, because I'm more of a goofy person. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I could see
Because
that.
like goofy, weird, clumsy, but like still like not completely
I
unreliable.
think you would be the Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Oh, I see.
I think you would be Tobey Maguire.
Oh, so I got webs coming out of my hand like that.
I feel like I would be the Tom
No,
Holland.
I don't think it would be the Tom
Why
Holland.
not? I want to be Tom Holland.
I feel like Amber's just that one superhero that has powers but doesn't realize how OP it is, and then they just like kind of goof off, and then it goes off, and then they didn't realize how much damage it does.
I still want to be Wong.
Okay, well, you know what? You stick to that.
All right.
Well, we're gonna end it here.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
ends the podcast. If you guys listened this far, thank you for listening. Shout out to Amber for coming out today. I mean,
Woo!
Thank
Yeah.
you. Seriously.
Suzie couldn't
Last
make
minute,
it.
low key.
Last
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
And great discussion.
If you guys enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing or giving us a good rating on Spotify. If you guys have any comments or concerns or questions or anything you want to say, please leave a comment down below. And we will see you next time.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good spring break.
See ya.